we'd become obsessed with hands-free footwear. So this is slip-on, but not in the sense of a limited mobility necessity. Literally, as the heel was stepping into the shoe and it was locking in, they would look at you and they would go, "That's clever." And that's how the brand got its name. So women are running around in men's sports shoes. And that is the norm.
That is crazy.
When you think about it, you cannot unsee it.
The shoes are amazing to wear. Hi, I'm Cary and welcome to the Eat Nourish Love podcast. For over 20 years, I've created events, raised over 4 million for good causes, and been lucky enough to meet some incredible people along the way. This podcast is about exploring stories and insights that really shape us, with inspiring guests from wellness, business, self-care and personal growth. It's about learning to trust our intuition and discovering what truly matters, and how, with hard work, belief and tenacity, we can make so many things happen. So I'm really excited this morning to have a conversation with Nicolle, who we met at the Happy Festival, didn't we?
We did, yes.
And I never forget walking into the Happy Festival and seeing this amazing marquee with these incredible shoes. And I thought, oh gosh, those look interesting. Anyway, I sort of wound my way around a little bit. And then I was on my own because a couple of girlfriends were coming with me and they couldn't make it. So I had a really lovely day just doing what I wanted to do and chatting. And when I came to your marquee and tried on your shoes, oh my goodness, they were incredible. So Nicolle, tell me, how did it all begin, this amazing brand?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. And it was lovely to meet you at the festival. That was one of the first times that we were out customer facing, really showcasing the brand. So for the listeners, this brand is a new brand of running and gym shoes that are specifically for women. We've called the brand Clever, and I'll get onto that in a bit when I tell you the story of how the whole idea came up and our light bulb idea. And I love telling the story because this is something that we're an online brand at the moment. We're at very early stages of our journey and we're new and we've got a product that we are passionate about and we have a purpose that we're passionate about. So I love meeting people and getting the chance to tell the whole story. And that's what's been amazing at the festivals. And I had the chance to explain to you and then to see the look on your face when you tried them on. And it really is quite groundbreaking. So how the idea came about, it was actually in lockdown. So one of the good things that came out of lockdown was when things slowed down generally, and we have a consulting business, so that slowed down. And but we never stopped thinking about shoes. So we've been in the footwear industry for 30 years now, my husband and myself, Martin and I. And we'd become obsessed with hands-free footwear. So this is slip-on, but not in the sense of a kind of limited mobility necessity, more as a, why do we not have this convenience that we want? And it was something that we'd been working on for a while. So there had been a pet project, and this, I think, is what made us really commit to this project. We'd had a couple of ideas, and one of them we had part developed in a sampling room, and we hadn't patented it yet. We hadn't protected it. We hadn't had time. We'd been really busy with our consulting work, which we do for a lot of major brands. And we saw that idea come to market with a massive brand and something that we had worked on. But what it did was it was a wake-up call. It was a big motivation. So we decided, you know what, we've actually got a better idea and we are going to get behind this. And so we just decided to go for it.
But it's really interesting, isn't it? Because actually sometimes it's that sort of something happens and someone does something and you go, goodness me, this is going to happen. And I'm a great believer that actually when an idea goes out into the ether, it goes out and people pick it up. So that was a very clever instinct of yours.
So, and I think another thing that it really highlighted to us is that I felt like it was a sign that we were on the right path, because if the trends in footwear if some of these big brands are really starting to go after the hands-free footwear that's not necessarily about limitations, but it's more about benefits and it's about a better product. So it's better for performance. It's adding to people's life. So the big question that we asked is, how can we make a performance shoe with all the technology that we now have, that we work with all the time, um, including all of that, but as a slip-on? And that was the challenge. And this was something that had never been done before. But we've worked with a lot of amazing factories, and we've got people that we've worked with for a very long time. And we started developing a prototype, and it worked. So do you want me to talk a little bit about, show you the idea?
Yes, I'd love you to show me the idea because that's what attracted me.
Okay.
The brand
Okay.
is so,
Okay.
so key. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to show you. So what we've developed is we've made a 360-degree collar, we call it. It's
Wow.
a zigzag shape that goes around the top of the foot. And it's actually, the device is made of PBAX, which is biomaterial. All of our materials are bio. Our shoes are entirely 100% sustainable. But this device was the game changer. It enables you to slip the shoe on in 1 second. So the back of it, if you imagine the zigzag going all around the top of the foot, the back of it opens up as you press down to put your foot in, like a shoehorn. And then as you push your heel down, it closes around your foot. And that is what we call a locked in position. So it feels like you've got your laces done up
That's
and it's
well,
fully
I know.
supportive.
It is so because I've obviously got a pair which I bought because and that's why I fell in love with them. And it's that they just slip on. They're just so easy.
It's really surprising. One of the best things about taking the shoes out to the festival is actually seeing that expression on people's face. So when we made our first prototype, I'm not sure, listeners won't be able to see this, but if anyone's watching, this is actually the first prototype, which is a man's shoe, which is and it even has some lace holes because we didn't know if this would work. So we got it in a couple of sizes, which my husband was trying. We put it on some friends. We tried it with friends and family, and people kept saying the same thing. Literally, as the heel was stepping into the shoe and it was locking in, they would look at you and they would go, "That's clever." And that's how the brand got its name. So we started calling the project Clever, and now we're spelling it QLVR, which is there. So this is how we decided that it works. We need to take this forward, and we took it forward to a little bit more development in the factories, which was limited during lockdown. You weren't able to travel, which slowed things up. But the moment we had the moment we had some samples, we worked with a couple of running clubs. We worked with personal trainers that are all friends of ours, and we started to refine the design. And as we worked up the product into male and female genders, this was the second light bulb moment. And this was hugely significant. And it's a great example of when you run into a bit of a problem, but it's all for a reason. So
And you
what we
pivot.
found,
And you pivot.
that's it. And you have to recalibrate and you have to adjust and you have to problem solve. And then there's quite often a light at the end of the tunnel if you're looking for it. So what we discovered, this is something that it wasn't a complete surprise to us, but we realized that men's and women's feet being completely different shapes, which is kind of an obvious thing. This in shoemaking means that most athletic shoes are made on a unisex last shape. So a last shape is
Really? So
this
usually
is
so
this is
so
a
that's how they're
mold.
made. Okay.
That's it. So this is a last shape, which is it's effectively a mold that the shoes are wrapped around in production, and it reflects all the biomechanics of the foot. This is a woman's foot shape, and if you compare it to a men's foot shape, the men's is more of a rectangle, the women's is more of an upside down triangle. So we have a narrower heel and a wider toe box, as well as a higher arch. So what happens is the majority of shoes that have laces, they can create a sort of unisex last and then scale down the men's shape to women's sizes. But that does not take any account of the women's biomechanics. So we will find that we are it's a bit crazy when you think about it, but women are running around in men's sports shoes, and that is the norm.
That is crazy.
And when you think about it, you cannot unsee it. So the back of the shoes is baggy. It's not correctly fitting our heel. So that's leading to problems such as instability, um, friction, discomfort, and injuries, actually, which is the worst of it.
So I just want to come in here for a second because I grew up and I was one of these unfortunate people in the 70s, 70s, I can't even remember, 70s, 80s, yes, that had bigger feet than most people. So, and then I had an accident and my feet shrunk a little bit anyway, but because I was in bed for 3 months. But ultimately, I was at 7.5, 8. I was an 8, so I shrunk to 7.5. But it was a big size then, and I was always in tears because I used to have to go to my parents, or when I went to the shoe shops, they used to say you need to go to the extra large department at Saxone, this shoe brand shop, which many of you may know or may not know because I'm just a bit older than everyone. But and it was just so painful. But also when I went off skiing, I had to go into men's ski boots because they never had women's in that size. And there's one time that I had a really bad accident, and it was because my foot was not secure in the boot. So I get this whole thing about injury and shape and size because I've personally gone through it.
I think when we realize, so this is something which women are becoming increasingly aware of, and it makes sense. It's almost like when we find out about this, the penny drops and we think, of course, why are products, so many products made and tested on men, and they're just not taking into account the specific anatomy, use and needs of women. And it's something that is becoming increasingly demanded. And the example that you gave is a perfect example. And another good example of that is the football and rugby boots that the elite players are wearing. And they are starting to get more of a voice whereby they can demand from the brands that they would really like boots that are made to correctly fit their heel, hold their feet better. And what this is doing is it's they're highlighting the fact that we are more at risk of injuries such as tendons. We've got Achilles, ACL injuries, as well as joints. So it's really important. Women's fit per se is, there's a few different benefits of it. One of them is obviously it fits correctly, so your foot's not going to be sliding back and forth in the foot within the shoe if it's held correctly at the back. So the heel of, so that our shoe's made on a women's last shape, so it wraps around the heel really snugly, and that holds the heel in place. So when you're wearing a trainer, it shouldn't be banging on the front, sliding back and forth inside the shoe, and that only happens if it's not made to the correct shape and the heel is not being held. So elite athletes are, I suppose, discovering and influencing the brands to make a change. And this is filtering down. And this is something where we decided to get involved. So when we had the choice of, well, actually, when we were presented with the issue of the fact that the majority of athletic brands work on this, it's called shrink it and pink it.
That's great.
Which is kind of the unofficial phrase, is the unofficial term. And it's a cost-saving initiative, really. So what happens is athletic shoes, if they are made on a unisex last, which is a male shrunk down to women's, that involves one set of tooling. So tooling and manufacturing of all the different components you can imagine in the large brands across all their different range. It's a huge cost. So sharing tooling is the goal. But as we've discussed, it's that can lead to problems.
Can I just go back to, because I want to go to the technology and the challenge and everything that you faced as developing this, obviously as well. What do you mean by tooling, shared tooling?
Oh, well, when we develop the shoes in the factories, we can make an original prototype, and we then need to look at commercializing and grading. So we have to look at sizing and developing the technology to a shoe that is going to go into production. So at that stage of development, we need to create the molds and the cutting dies and create all the different components of the shoes. So the traditional way of doing that would have been more of a unisex mold. So the model that I showed you, that is this big heavy plastic last shape. That is the first stage that the shoe is shaped around.
So I just go, because I think this is very interesting, because a couple of things I want to go back to is, firstly, you've been in the industry, you know it. It's not like you're coming into it with a new idea. You've had over 30 years, is that right, of experience in this field, and you've designed them for
Yes.
other people. And so therefore, this is built on years of experience with people that you've been working with who could help bring this idea to market. And also, I think we also discussed, this isn't the first women's trainer, is it? This is
no. So we're not the first brand to make women's trainers. We are addressing an imbalance where we have the opportunity. So one of the great things about being a new company is that you're more agile. You're able to respond to trends, to market needs, to feedback, to insights, and I think the timing was just really interesting when we came out with our new technology, which, by the way, we've been working on for 5 years. So our patent took 4 years, and the intellectual property and looking after the patent, given our past experience and our first brand, we knew the importance of it. So this is something that we had developed our hands-free technology, and we knew that this had huge potential, but given the choice of do we start with men or women's, because being a startup, it's a harder proposition to be doing both. We saw this as an opportunity, and we thought, why not address that gap in the market, which the majority of the industry is neglecting? So to go back to answer the question, there are women's specific shoes out there, but they are very much a minority. Sometimes a brand will release them and they might discontinue them because it's not profitable. And this is, it's not something that is unheard of, but with the majority of people that are, not from the industry, they would be possibly a little shocked that the the way that the default setting for the athletic footwear industry is to create on a men's last shape and to scale down without taking into account the individual biomechanics of the genders. But it's not to say that we haven't invented this. We have decided that with our new brand and the technology that we've created, we're giving that to women first. And so our mission has become, and the more that we've spoken to people, the more strongly we feel about the fact that this just hasn't been addressed and it can really benefit. And the benefits that we're hearing about even more than we realized. So when we started making these shoes, and we ran a Kickstarter, by the way, I'm not sure if we've discussed that.
No, we'll talk about that. Yeah, but yeah, we'll definitely come back to that.
Jumping forward to the festival where I met you, where we were showcasing the brand at the Happy Place Festival, we were able to get some amazing insights from people as to how important they felt this was, and really how surprised they were to know that this was the case. But it totally makes sense when they realize maybe some issues that they've had, whether it's with injuries, discomfort, or just really struggling to find shoes that they feel fit them correctly. And obviously no shoe's going to fit everyone. Obviously we completely, as you were saying, some people they might have bigger feet, wider feet, more flat feet, higher arches. And these are actually challenges that we've faced along the way of producing them, because we want our shoe to fit as many people as possible.
But you also have another set of soles, don't you? You have 2 sets of soles.
Yes, absolutely. So that was something that came out of the fit testing. So the athlete testing we were able to do that over a long period of time. Don't forget, we were waiting for our patents. We had to be really careful about where we released these. So it was strictly friends and family. But luckily, we have a lot of athletes as friends, and people that are run leaders, all sorts of different levels. So we we had this we had a lot of really helpful insights from the testers, some of it which created a lot of work for us. So one of them was that a lot of people do like to have their bespoke orthotics inside their shoes, and it's really popular. Um, One of the reasons it's popular is because a lot of the shoes don't provide the support that is required. So what we found is people wearing our shoes, a lot of them are feeding back that they don't need their built-in orthotics.
That's brilliant.
They are the alignment. So the shoes, the technology that we've created, which creates the correct alignment for the female anatomy, is also providing stability and support. And people are using the words that it's correcting their posture. It's helping them run better. It's making them feel better aligned. And these are things that have come about. Again, we're not reinventing this. We're just creating shoes that are correct for women's feet. So the double insole that you referred to, what that is, it's a fit system. So in every box of Clevers that people receive, there's a built-in insole, which is cushioned, but we also provide a 4 mil set of insoles and a 6 mil set of insoles, and that is just to help tailor the fit. And it might be for your particular foot shape, which might have a higher arch and might need a smaller insole, or you might have very narrow feet and you would use one of the insoles to take up some of the volume inside the shoe. Of course, laces could do this in the past, but with our system, we're offering this option to be able to tailor the shoes for your own comfort. And a lot of people are doing it depending on their activity. So, for example, if you're doing a HIIT class, you might want them feeling more tight. If you're out doing a really long walk, you might be commuting in London all day and your feet might get a bit swollen. You can remove one of them. So it gives you options. And actually, it was something that came out of the fit testing where people have said, how can we adjust these? And the answer is the collar, it can flex to natural movement and it can open and close to allow your feet in. But once you've found your ideal fit, so how tight you want the shoe to feel, it will be consistent every time. So the way to adjust it, we decided, would be to change the volume inside of the shoes through the insole system.
So what's so interesting, and I'll go back to one of the reasons I want you on this podcast was the fact that, obviously love working with you anyway, but it's the fact that, people neglect their feet, don't they? Feet, hands, they're out there all the time doing all these different things for us. And sometimes and so often the feet are neglected, and so therefore this is all about understanding the foot, the structure, and what you're doing with the shoes. So it's much more than, because I think it's the most beautiful brand and it looks so fantastic and the colours that you got are brilliant. But the key thing for me is, again, because obviously with the work that I do, is also about the wellness and how people are using their bodies and what they're doing, and I think it's extraordinary. But let me go on to the other thing, because we were talking about the Kickstarter. So how did that all come about?
Well, as I mentioned, we've been working on this project for 5 years, and it had started as a pet project, but once the momentum started, it got going pretty quickly. And there's a lot of costs involved. Things like the intellectual property takes up a lot, the development. And we got to the point where we thought, we think that we have something great here. And how do we take this forward? So someone had suggested a crowdfunding, and we didn't really have an understanding of what that was. It sounds like a Just Giving page or something. So Kickstarter is actually an American platform, and there are other crowdfunding platforms available. But this was one that came onto our radar, and we thought there are a number of benefits that can come from this. The first being market research. We could look at putting our proposition out there and finding out if this is something that women were really interested in, and if it's something that they would like to see come to life. And it creates a really interesting community, because these people, you're not buying something per se on Kickstarter. It's not like an ordinary sort of e-commerce transaction. It's very different. The backers, so the customers are called backers, and they vouch for your, they express an interest in your product, and they pledge an amount, which is effectively, it's about half the final retail price. And then, but here's the key, they have to wait. You can't go on Kickstarter if you're ready in production. You have to have a concept, you have to have a prototype, and you do have to create a very polished proposal. It's pretty much, it's a website. You have to have it pretty slick. So when you're putting it out there, it's saturated with a lot of people that have great ideas out there. And to try and get noticed, you really need to work hard at it. So that was something that was a really steep learning curve as well. But what we managed to do is, in the 30 days, you get a 1-month campaign. You get one chance. You have a 30-day campaign, and you set a target. And our target was to pay for the tooling to develop all the sizes. So we have half sizes. So we've got 13 different sets of knives, molds, cutting. All of these things take investment. And the mold for the zigzag device, which is our laceless, enables the shoes to be laceless. So we call it our wing fit because of how it looks. It's like an expanding
Is that what you
wing.
trademarked?
We haven't trademarked.
Intellectual property. What? Yeah.
So the intellectual property is the utility, and the utility, the look, and the functionality of the wing fit used in any footwear. So and we have 16 different design patents, design registrations, patents, trademarks internationally. We locked that down pretty quickly. We knew this has got a lot of legs. So so the Kickstarter, the market insights that you get from people responding and asking questions, and as I mentioned, the hurdles, there's some big ones there. In order to be a backer, you have to give your credit card details. There's no other way. They don't offer options of Apple Pay, PayPal, those kind of things. So immediately alarm bells, no matter how much people love the idea, alarm bells start ringing. They become skeptical. They wonder if it could be a scam. So unfortunately, a lot of people drop away. So what you do is, before the Kickstarter, you start to advertise and promote, and you build up a kind of a database of people who are interested in being the first people in the world to see this come to light and to get the first ones off the production line. And it's a certain type of person that wants to do this. These are the very early adopters. And, then again, the market narrows. But we managed to get, we raised £100,000 in 30 days.
Brilliant. Well done.
We had 707 backers across 38 countries.
Wow.
And so this was better than Allbirds. So our one of our private goals, which I've told you now, was to beat what Allbirds had done on Kickstarter. And it was a really amazing verification, I suppose, of what we were thinking, that this is something that people would like to see come to life, and particularly women would like to be part of. And the appetite out there was strong. So the big question that we had wanted to answer was, is there an appetite out there for this product if we're going to continue in this investment?
And that's hard, because you're putting your heart into it, you've invested in it, you've invested time, years, emotions, and then it's like, are they going to like it? Is this going to be something that's going to be taken? And that must have been very exciting for you.
It was so nerve-wracking. I think I cried on the day that the Kickstarter started to land, because I just had this panic that these people have waited 8 months, and we've got relationships with them now, because through the Kickstarter, you build this community, and you have messages, you have updates, you keep people informed, which is crucial, because they have shown faith in you and they're now on this journey with you. So, which is very exciting. It's also a very big responsibility. And some Kickstarters don't actually manage to go into production. So it is a privilege to be able to have people backing you. And I was just so nervous, we all were, that they would land on people's doorsteps and would they fit? Would they like them? Everything we had done was to try and make them have this amazing experience. And the people that we had seen and all of our testing had backed us up that the wow moment that people experience when they try them on, because it's very unusual. I mean, it looks very unusual and distinctive. And there are a lot of skeptics out there. And people are not shy online to let you know that they think this is crazy. This thing looks strange. What is this thing?
That's hard. It's hard though.
That's
It's
hard.
very hard. And that's what we talk about, making it real. This whole thing about the challenges that you have, because when you just see people and what they do from the outside, they think, oh, it's all easy for them. But there is so much heartache. There's so much emotion. There's so much time, disappointments involved, aren't there?
There are some really tough days. Um, fortunately, the Fortunately, we've got a good team. It's a very small team, and we're just a few people that we've worked together. We've crossed paths. We've worked together. So my background was in advertising. So I've got a couple of good friends that I've worked with in my background before I got into footwear. So and then all the footwear people that we've worked with have a great deal of experience. So when the tough days come along and something's not working, or you hit a major hurdle, or you receive some very skeptical feedback, which is can be quite
It happens.
tough.
But it's life, isn't it? So you have to understand that that's business.
Absolutely. And it's when you put them in people's when you put yourself in people's shoes, they need to know the story. These are things that we know all the background, we've done all the research, but once you've had the opportunity to share your story, the majority of people actually are super positive and interested, and going out to the festivals when people see it and it's really distinctive, they're actually really open-minded and they're curious. They want to pick it up and look at it and think, how does this work? And that's when we get to tell them. Sometimes we don't get the full opportunity to tell people, and that can be a bit frustrating. But those days are when you just really have to dig deep. And what we've found is, and this is a growth experience. This whole journey of being an entrepreneur is not it's only for the brave. So and you learn resilience and you learn to become more brave. But quite often when we've had a hard knock, it's like being an athlete. You have to just persevere and push through it, because what's happened time and time again is that just around the corner is something, it's about to start working. And it's almost like when the hard times come and you think, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're so far, and for whatever reason, something's not working. And you just think, we're putting in the foundations. We're doing everything here. And we've done this before. This is our second business. We were acquired previously many years ago. And we know this. Building something, particularly in this industry. So it's an interesting time for the footwear industry because, it's saturated with giants, and we're the little guys, but we've been in the industry for a long time, and we've designed for a lot of those giants, and we've had a brand before, so we have the knowledge, and we have a great product, and the industry is changing, and smaller brands are growing, and the likes of, well, they're not so small anymore, but On and Hoka came through when Nike had a monopoly, and all there is a desire for more niche products, or great products that are coming into a category where there's nothing like that before. So you have to be different.
You have to be different, and I think thank you for sharing your story, because you know the work, because I think that's really, I think Emma Grede says on her one of her podcasts, she it was quite an interesting one. She said, a third of your life is great, it's wonderful, etc., and then the second third of your life is it going well, and the last third is a nightmare, is terrible days, difficult times. And someone said, "Oh, like a marriage then." No, 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 no. But it's but it's understanding that, and I think it's so important, understanding that those really tough days, that sometimes behind those tough times, you are just on the edge of moving forward, because you've got to go into the eye of the storm. You've got to go through it. You can't go around it, but you've got to go through it and understand what that message is telling you, or is it telling you to pivot? And I think the other thing is as you mentioned before, that as a small brand, you can, because you're not such a huge beast that you can't pivot. And I think what you're able to do now is get that feedback, and obviously pivot to a degree, because obviously you've done. But I think it's really important to share the story, because so many people, particularly female founders and entrepreneurs, feel that they're on their own, but it's happening to everybody.
Mm. There is so much support amongst female founders for female founders, and that's been a really, I suppose, an eye opener for me. Not only is the women's market looking for great products that are made for them, that are more bespoke. Um, there are women founders out there doing, in line with our values of trying to do a similar thing, trying to deliver something that's going to improve people's lives, that's going to, well, in our case, it's performance, it's preventing injuries, it's these kind of things. These are needs that have not previously been met well enough. Um, and there's a purpose, and it's a mission, and there's a lot of strength in that. There's power in that.
And you've got obviously when you came to the autumn fair that we did, and I think one of the things that I want to say is that, well, the shoes are amazing to wear, and they are. My family said, "What are those? Those are pretty cool, Ma. What are you wearing?" But also the whole experience, and I think you both should be commended for this, is because it is about the experience. And people have often said, "Oh, it's not about the packaging. You need to eliminate packaging. You need to do that." But you get one of your pairs of shoes, and you open the box. It's the messaging. It's everything you've done. It's so thoughtful what you've done, and I think you should be recognised that. And it's just a lovely experience as well.
Thank you. I think the packaging is important. It has some functional reasons. It needs to arrive looking as beautiful as it left the factory, and we sell online, so these travel a lot. So it needs to be robust, but the branding is something that we're really proud of, and the clever name is not something that people immediately recognize, but once you explain, so with it being spelled QLVR, but it only needs to be mentioned once, and people get it, and the origins of how it came about, the whole the way the whole story hangs together, and it's evolved, and it felt like the timing was right. It's all the experience that we've had over the years is really culminating in this product, and it's very hard to come up with an amazing, simple product that really is groundbreaking. It's one simple product that can make a change, that can benefit people, and but they then realize that we really want this. Which when you tried it, you get a feeling, and it's an emotion. Um, and it's quite rare to come up with something like that. And in our business of consulting, we sign away intellectual properties all over day in and day out on various bits of technology. It can be small things, but when something comes along and you really, really believe in it, and you think, we need to do this, which is a slight moment of madness, and then you think, right, we're in it. We need to see this through, and you go back to the reason you started it.
What has been the most challenging part of developing this shoe?
the challenges that that we came across while developing the shoe was a steep curve, because this is something that's not been made before, and we were initially handling this remotely. So the challenges of trying to bring your vision to something that is functional, it's something that's never been done before. There was We were kind of on our own with that. There are no and one example I'll give you is that there are no existing standardized measurements in footwear factories of the part that goes around the ankle, around your foot, because there's always been laces. And we what we needed to do was create something that was going to work for as many people as possible. And this just hadn't been done before. So the number of iterations that we had to go through to try and get it right and allow it to do what we knew it would do from our first prototype. But you can imagine, as you start grading something down, it's really precise. So the disappointments and the ups and downs that we went through during that phase of refining the product and making it work, it looks simple, but it takes a huge amount of precision to get this to work. And if you imagine where your heel is positioned, it's so important that it's wrapped around, and with this device it has to be positioned exactly in the curve, so that the wing fit is cradling your foot. But as you're grading, the heel position kept changing, and it effectively needed to be taken into account across every different size, 13 different sizes. So we would receive samples, and this is the ups and downs. We would be so excited because the samples have been shipped and the box arrives, and we would film it because we were so excited. And then sometimes it would work, and other times my face would just drop, and I would say to Martin, it's not right. And it's come all the way from the factory, and they felt that this was correct, and it's not. We would then take the samples. Sometimes we would have a half pair, so we would have one shoe in one size, and everyone that had to try them in the beginning had to be UK size 6. So it's very, and it was just quite devastating. And we kept thinking, are we mad? Is this going to work? It's like, it works for us. It works in size 6. So that was tough. And then taking it out and it not fitting certain people, of course, these are the challenges you expect, and that is very normal. But in terms of trying to create something that hadn't been done before, we did have doubts, but then we kind of went back to the feeling of when it works, and it really is something.
Now, there'll be people listening to this who are entrepreneurs and businesses, and online sales and face-to-face sales, and the benefit of both. And obviously, things have changed hugely. How easy is it to sell these online if people aren't trying them on?
It's very challenging. So the biggest job that we have to do, we're in our first year. So we've only been in the market for about 6 months. We've been out this summer showcasing the shoes, and we're not yet in retail. Although one of our next steps is to get into select retail, but it's really important to be able to tell the story and explain the shoes and fit them correctly. So initially we've been doing this ourselves through going out to events. And the difficulty with selling online for anything is the sizing.
But I think you've been very clever, because you've done the half sizes, and I'm very much a half size, and therefore, that's really important to me. But also, I know that some of these shoes are on hands of, I've got a lot of friends now, because you came to the fair, wearing them. They love them, and I think it's that personal endorsement. My daughter loves them. She did the marathon, and it's quite important to see that the youngsters, that you're hitting the young market too, because they look so great and they love the branding, but also they fit so well. I know you've got one or two ambassadors probably on board, and other people probably coming on who are in the sports world. And I think that's huge, because a lot of the sales, even online and face-to-face, is all about the storytelling and the testimonials, isn't it?
It is. So the early adopters from Kickstarter have become effectively ambassadors for the brand, because they are the ones that, purely from discovering something new, I think women are really good at sharing things that they've discovered. We love to tell our friends about new things, and we don't gatekeep them. We want to share them, and we want
Yeah.
people to try
We
them.
get
And
excited. We want to share
we
it. It's like,
do.
yeah.
We do. And we're genuinely excited to share it. So everyone that has had really great experiences with receiving the shoes, and especially being part of the launch, they've become ambassadors. But also people that have become that have been testers. They've shared with their communities. They might be a personal trainer, they might be a gym owner, a run leader, and we've met some really much more high profile people at the festivals that we've gone to, where we have there've been some people like Davina McCall and Dame Kelly Holmes who have received shoes from us at festivals. And you never know if people are going to actually like them or try them, but
Well, I know
we've
that
discovered
Alison Cork,
they've
yeah.
been wearing
Well,
them.
I've seen
Alison
with
Cork,
Alison Cork, I
yes.
saw Davina in the paper. She was wearing them after she'd been to the. Well, she was doing something with Fern Cotton. I can't remember who she was doing it with anyway. But and then obviously,
She was on Radio 2.
yeah, exactly. And then you saw
She was twerking in our shoes, so that went viral.
And then Alison Cork as well, and Grace Fodor, who came to the fair. They absolutely loved them, and I know a couple of other speakers. I think Millie McIntosh loved them.
That's
and,
right.
But
Fern Cotton.
And but actually, it's them being out there wearing them. And I think when I was doing my talk with Libla about journaling at the fair, 2 or 3 of girlfriends saw them. I think Nikki was on them, and she goes, "Those look really cool on her feet. I'm going to go and buy some."
So some of the a lot of people, some of the speakers, they came and got the shoes in the beginning of the festival, and it goes on for a couple of days, and then they would wear them. And the most exciting thing, which we did not expect, Dame Kelly Holmes, double Olympian, double gold, was there as a motivational speaker, came on the stand, and was really interested in what we've created. And we had a long conversation about footwear, and which of course we love talking about the shoes, and she wanted to know everything about the materials, everything, all the thought that had gone behind it. And she tried some on, and then she got called away to her big stage talk, and it had been delightful to meet her, and we loved it. But what we didn't know was that she wore them on stage. So people came after that talk, and they went, "Those are the shoes that Dame Kelly was wearing," and we didn't know. So that was amazing. And then people, they the shoes do look very distinctive, which is on purpose. This is something radically different. And for some people, that can be a barrier. And going back to selling online, it is a barrier to try and get people to give something a chance that looks very different. You do get a lot of skeptics, but you also get a lot of people that are curious. And when these high profile people decide that they're curious enough to give it a chance, and we've been able to speak to them and tell them why we're doing it, and because they're asking, they're interested. What is this? What do you mean? The majority of athletic shoes are not made for women. Women are running in small men's shoes. It's like, this sounds unreal. But the fact that they've chosen to take them home and actually wear them was incredible for us, because we know that these are great shoes, but having to get people to understand and try them on is a harder job when you're online, because they're taking a chance and they're taking a risk.
Exactly. Now, I want to just, before we finish, because it's been such a lovely conversation, but I just want to, so these shoes, are they for just for athletes? Are they for people to walk, to run, to CrossFit? Can people who've got injuries wear them? Older people who maybe have got problems with walking. I mean, where does it fit in the marketplace?
So first and foremost, this is a performance shoe. It's for running and cross training, gym, pretty much any activity that would involve your cardio, exercise, strength training. Interestingly, a lot of people are wearing them as their everyday shoes as well. And this is how women like to wear trainers. This is what we like. We like something that's versatile. So it was intentionally being our launch shoe with our new technology, because we do have other shoes in the pipeline that are specifically made for other activities. But this is generally you would do maybe up to a 10K run, although people have been doing really good times in half marathons wearing our shoes. They're very good for improving your running if you have come out of injury because of the stability, support. The underfoot cushioning experience that we've created actually does seem to be really protecting women from injuries. And we've had people say that this has reduced or eliminated their symptoms of things like plantar fasciitis. They are not needing to wear insoles. So coming back from injuries, this is a really good shoe to be wearing because it is correct for your anatomy and it is going to give you the support and stability.
Well, that's fascinating, isn't it? Because actually, because people don't realise that even just walking, you have impact on knees and things like that, and walking fast, and I love them. There's a spring to them, there's a cushion to them. I don't run, but I do gym work, and that's just because I had an issue with my knees. But I walk in them. I absolutely love them, and I think they're great. But I just think it's. And one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with you is I think it's so lovely to see a new brand come into the marketplace like this, a brand that's really challenging, really, in terms of the development and the years and the patents and the time that it takes, but also what you're delivering out there and how you're helping women and women's health really, and their fitness and their feet health, foot health rather I should say, which is so much better. I would love for you to leave our listeners with 3 key elements or 3 key things that you'd like them to take away from this conversation.
It's really important to design with purpose. So to become passionate about, if you're passionate about the product because it's a great product and you know that it's going to change things and it's going to, and it can help people, and you're creating something where a change is needed and people are asking for it. I think it gives your idea a passion and it becomes your mission. And I think that if you have something that if you create something and believe passionately in an idea, you should be bold and you should really make it your mission and try and make it happen. It's not going to be easy, but it's an adventure and you learn resilience and you learn to be brave. And I think it's a very worthwhile cause. Another is protect your idea at all costs. Intellectual property is your biggest asset. So that's something that we learned early on, and it paid off. So it can take a long time, it can be expensive, but it's super worthwhile, and you will thank yourself later. And probably the last thing is going back to what you and I were talking about at the beginning about the fact that on those days where in an entrepreneur's journey or when you're trying to get on with your mission and you have a bad day and you feel really down and you think things aren't working, I think it's just really good to bear in mind that quite often the answer's around the corner and something is about to happen, and just stick with it and persevere, because you don't get anywhere hard with shortcuts. You have to go through it, and I think it pays off. So with bad days, you get the highlights, and that's what keeps you going.
Well, I think that's huge, and it's been so lovely getting to know you both and understanding your brand as well, and bringing people there. And I think Eat Nourish Love is all about inspiring, engaging, and bringing people together, and it's something that I love doing. And I think it's all about the relationships and the communities. It doesn't stop at one place. It's a continual thing, and this is what you've happened with Kickstarter with all those people. And if you keep the right people around you, I think that's a really important thing as well during those challenging times. So thank you so
It
much.
is.
And I thank you so much for coming on this today. And I hope that
Well,
all our
thank you for
listeners
having me.
will have a look at the website. Where can they find you? Where can they find all these shoes? How can they buy them and find out more
Well,
information?
currently we're selling online. So we have a website, which is clever.com. So spelled QLVR.com. And that's recently launched. So, although we will be moving into retail, that is currently where you can find us, and we're on Instagram, which is get_QLVR. So follow us for updates, new releases, all the exciting stuff.
Exciting. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Caroline.